Major flash flooding for the Midwest and Southeast, maybe an isolated tornado, damaging winds, large hail, fire, and extreme heat. Good morning, I'm meteorologist Pew. Today's August 9th, 2025. Starting with flash flooding, the Weather Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk for both today and tomorrow for the Midwest, and a slight risk for the Southeast. For both areas, you guys are already seeing rain this morning and afternoon, and for the Midwest, this is going to continue in the evening, into overnight, and even into the next morning. And for the Southeast, it's going to continue pretty much all day consistently, and all night and next morning as well. For the Midwest, we're going to see these afternoon storms dissipate around 5 p.m. Central Time, but immediately after that, we're going to see another round of convection starting in Kansas and Missouri. So in the next 24 hours from Kansas all the way to Wisconsin, we can see an additional 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. For the high plains, it looks like storms are going to start initiating around 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And for the Southeast, especially around the coastline, we can see rainfalls up to 6 inches or greater. Now for severe weather, the Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk, or a 2 out of 5 for the Midwest, and also for the high plains as well. And what this entails is that we have a 2% chance to see an isolated tornado, 15% chance to see winds up to 60 miles per hour or greater, and very large hail, especially in the high plains, where we could see hail up to 2 inches or greater in diameter. In terms of the tropics, we have a tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa. We have a 40% chance of something forming in the next 7 days, and this is something we should watch out for, but we'll have more information by mid next week. In terms of fire, we still have a risk in the west. It's not as bad as the last few days, but we still have an elevated, or a 1 out of 3 from the Four Corners to Wyoming. Looking at the surface, we have a cold front going from Wisconsin to the plains, and this is going to turn into a stationary front, and this is going to provide the consistent surface lifts to produce these thunderstorms. And we have 2 low pressures responsible for this, and low pressures are counterclockwise flow, and so we have 1 in Manitoba, and we also have 1 in the plains. And the 1 in Manitoba is bringing in cool, drier air from the north, and when the 1 in the plains is bringing in south to southwesterly winds, bringing that warm, moist air. And with the south to southwesterly winds pulling in that warm, moist air into the Midwest, this is exactly why in the plains we're going to have a heat indexes almost up to 110. For the Southeast, we also have a stationary front that's producing constant surface lifts, and we have a low pressure somewhere in the Gulf that's recycling all this warm, moist air into Florida and the Southeast coast. And we also have a high pressure in the mid-Atlantic that's helping aid bringing in that moisture from the Atlantic into the Southeast. Looking at satellite imagery, we can see that we have clear skies in the plains, and we know that we have south to southwesterly winds headed into the Midwest. And so with all this surface heating, it's going to bring in more instability into the Midwest. And if we take a look at the west, we have pretty clear skies, and that's going to help with the surface heating, which is going to help with the buoyancy in that area because warm air rises, and that's going to help with the mixing of the boundary layers over there. So speaking of mixing, if we look at 500 millibars or midway through the troposphere, we still have that anticyclonic or clockwise flow somewhere in the southeast, and that's still pulling in dry air aloft. And we can see that we have somewhat decent shear, and that's going to help with the rising and sinking motion in this area. And because we know that we have dry air aloft, it's going to be pulling down into the surface, which is one, going to help with the relative humidities being the single digits, and also wind speeds 15 to 20 miles per hour. Taking a look at the Midwest, we have a pretty broad trough, and we have somewhat decent shear, and that's going to help tilt those updrafts and prolong those storms. And that's why we have